The courtroom clock was loud in a way that felt personal. Tick, 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 like it was counting down the last few minutes of my grandmother's life all over again. Except this time the body wasn't even cold anymore, and my sister still found a way to make it about winning. Kendra sat at the other table with her lawyer, Derek Vaughn, like she'd dressed for a magazine shoot titled How to Take Everything and Smile About It. Perfect hair, perfect blazer, perfect little smirk that said she'd been practicing this in the mirror. My parents sat behind her, close enough to touch her shoulder, close enough to be seen with her. My mother kept her hands folded like she was praying. My father leaned back like the bench was his. I didn't look at them for long, because if I did, I'd remember Christmas at Grandma's when Kendra refused to help set the table and my mom said, "Let her rest, she works so hard," while Grandma and I carried the dishes ourselves. Different day, same script. My lawyer, Sonia Patel, leaned close and kept her voice low. "Naomi, I need you to understand what they're asking for." "I understand," I said. Sonia's eyes held mine. She was the kind of attorney who didn't waste empathy on theatrics. She saved it for moments like this, when a client needed a hand on the wheel. "They want the house," she said. "They want the car. They want the personal property. They want the rental income from the downstairs unit. They want you labeled as someone who manipulated an old woman. That part matters." I felt the word manipulated land in my chest like a stone. Kendra leaned toward her lawyer and whispered something. He chuckled. Then, without even looking at Sonia, my sister called across the aisle like we were at brunch. "Naomi," she said brightly, "this doesn't have to be hard. Just sign and stop embarrassing yourself." A few heads turned in the gallery. Not many. Probate court isn't glamorous, but humiliation doesn't need a crowd. It just needs witnesses. Sonia's jaw tightened. "Don't answer her." I didn't. I kept my hands folded on the table, fingers laced, still, calm on purpose. Because in my bag, under a plain folder with a red tab, I had something Kendra didn't know I'd found. And it wasn't sentimental. It was paper. The kind of paper that doesn't care how loud you laugh in court. The bailiff called our case. The judge, Whitaker, hot according to the nameplate, took the bench with a face that looked like she'd seen every family try to turn grief into a weapon. "Good morning," she said. "We're here on the petition regarding the Hart estate. Appearances." Kendra's lawyer stood first. "Derek Vaughn for the petitioner. Ms. Kendra Hart." Sonia stood. "Sonia Patel for the respondent. Naomi Hart." Judge Whitaker nodded once. "Mr. Vaughn, you may proceed." Vaughn didn't just stand. He performed standing. He adjusted his cuffs, squared his shoulders, and smiled like this was going exactly where he wanted. "Your Honor," he began, "this is a simple matter complicated by one person's insistence on taking what was never meant for her. The decedent, Evelyn Hart, was vulnerable in her final months. My client believes her sister used that vulnerability to secure an unfair advantage. We are asking for an equitable distribution, effective immediately." Kendra's smirk widened, like she'd already tasted the victory. Vaughn lifted a folder. "Specifically, Your Honor, my client is seeking the house, the vehicle, and all personal property of value. She is also requesting the rental income stream attached to the property, as well as reimbursement for legal fees. My client wants closure today." Then Kendra leaned forward, eyes on me, and said it herself, clear enough for the microphones. "I want the house," she said. "I want the car. Everything." My father made a sound behind her that was almost a laugh, almost a sigh. Like finally. My mother dabbed at the corner of her eye with a tissue that looked untouched. The judge looked at me. "Ms. Hart, do you wish to respond?" Sonia shifted slightly, ready to fight. I could feel it in her posture. She had arguments, precedent, case law, a full spine of resistance. And I could have taken it. I could have made this long. I could have dragged Kendra through depositions, discovery, hearings. I could have let the process grind her down the way she deserved. But I didn't come here to win in the way she understood. I came here to let her take exactly what she was demanding, because she had no idea what she was really asking for. I turned toward the judge and kept my voice even. Your Honor, I don't want to fight with my sister. Kendra's expression flickered, surprise, then satisfaction. Sonia's head snapped toward me, a silent, "What are you doing?" I kept going. My grandmother's gone. I'm not interested in turning her memory into a war. Kendra couldn't help herself. She leaned in closer, whispering, "How but loud enough for Sonia to hear?" Good, because you're going to lose. My throat tightened, but my face didn't change. I let the sensation pass without giving it a stage. The judge studied me. Are you saying you agree to the petitioner's request? Sonia's fingers touched my sleeve under the table, a warning. Her voice was barely a breath. Naomi, don't. I looked at Sonia for a moment, just long enough to tell her this wasn't weakness. Then I looked back at the judge. Yes, I said. She can have it. A soft, ugly little wave ran through the room. People don't know what to do with someone who doesn't defend themselves. They assume guilt, or insanity, or both. Kendra's mouth parted in a grin that was too bright to be real. My father laughed openly this time, a short burst. She made sure you get nothing, he murmured to my mother, like I wasn't sitting 10 feet away. My mother finally looked at me, briefly, and her eyes weren't sad. They were relieved. Like my surrender meant she didn't have to pick a side anymore. Kendra turned to her lawyer, triumphant. He bent his head toward her, smiling as if this was the easiest paycheck he'd ever earned. Sonia leaned close again, voice urgent now. Naomi, if you agree on the record, it changes everything. We can still... I reached into my bag and pulled out a thin stack of paper in a plain folder. I didn't slap it on the table. I didn't wave it around. I simply set it in front of Sonia and she saw the red tab. Her eyes flicked to me, sharp, questioning. I whispered, so only she could hear. Let her take the house. Sonia stared at the folder like it weighed more than paper should. Naomi, she said, barely moving her lips. What is this? I didn't answer yet, because on the other side of the aisle, Kendra was already leaning back, already enjoying the feeling of being seen as the winner. And she still hadn't realized the agreement she was about to rush me into signing had a last section she would never read. Judge Whitaker didn't rush to celebrate my peaceful decision. She watched me the way judges watch people who say yes too fast. Ms. Hart, she said, I want to be clear. Are you agreeing voluntarily? Yes, Your Honor. Has anyone threatened you, pressured you, or offered you something outside this court to make you say that? Kendra made a soft, satisfied sound at the other table, like she was already filming the victory speech in her head. No, I said. I'm choosing it. Sonia shifted beside me. I could feel her restraint shaking at the seams. She hated this. She was built to fight, and I had just walked us onto the edge of a cliff and smiled. Judge Whitaker's gaze moved to Sonia. Counsel, have you advised your client of the consequences? Sonia's voice came out tight. Yes, Your Honor. The judge nodded once. All right, then here's what we're going to do. I will not enter an order based on a 1-minute surrender with a grieving family in the room. We will take a brief recess. Counsel will confer. If you present a written stipulation, I will review it. But understand this. She paused, letting the silence work. Any agreement must clearly allocate responsibilities attached to assets, taxes, liens, maintenance, claims, anything recorded or pending. I am not leaving ambiguity for future litigation. Kendra's smile didn't move. It just got sharper. Of course, Derek Vaughn said smoothly. We can draft something clean. Kendra leaned toward her mic like she couldn't help herself. Great, let's do it today. Judge Whitaker's eyes flicked to her. Ms. Kendra Hart, you will not dictate my calendar. Kendra's cheeks flushed, then she forced the smile back on. Sorry, Your Honor, I just want closure. The judge tapped her pen once. Recess, 10 minutes. The bailiff called it out and the room exhaled. Benches creaked, people stood, whispers started. My parents immediately clustered around Kendra like she'd just won an award. My father's laugh carried. You played it perfectly. My mother squeezed Kendra's shoulder. Finally. Kendra didn't even look at them for long. Her eyes were on me, bright, hungry, triumphant, like she wanted to see the moment I broke. I didn't give it to her. I stood, gathered my bag, and walked into the hallway with Sonia. The hallway outside probate court is always the same. Scuffed tile, beige walls, a vending machine humming like it's trying to be comforting. People whisper because they think justice can hear them. Sonia stopped near a quiet corner and turned on me, voice low and sharp. Naomi, she said, tell me what you're doing, right now. Because if you actually intend to hand your sister the house, and the car, and all the personal property, then I need to change how I'm protecting you. I didn't answer with a speech. I opened my bag and slid the plain folder with the red tab into her hands. Read the red tab pages, I said. Sonia frowned and flipped it open. At first, and her expression was annoyance, like she expected a desperate note or some sentimental letter that didn't belong in court. Then her eyes started moving faster. Her mouth tightened. She turned one page, then another. Her thumb paused on a thick printout with official formatting, lines of text, headings, and a seal impression that didn't look decorative. Where did you get this? She asked. County treasurer, I said. Recorder's office, title company. Sonia's gaze dropped back to the page. Property tax status. Delinquent. She looked up, disbelief sharpening. How delinquent? In the range where the county starts sending final notices, I said carefully. The kind of notice you don't ignore if your name is going to be attached to that property. Sonia flipped again and found the next piece, an index printout from the recorder, names and recorded items listed like a timeline of consequences. She read under her breath. Tax lien, another line. Code enforcement lien, another. Notice of violation. Her eyebrows lifted. Daily penalties. She looked at me like she'd suddenly realized the ground under the trophy was hollow. Kendra doesn't know this, Sonia said. No, I replied. She knows what she wants to post on social media. She doesn't know what she's inheriting with it. Sonia turned to the next page. It wasn't from the county. It looked like a preliminary title report. Clean paragraphs, bullet-style sections, the kind of document that feels boring until it ruins your life. Her voice went even quieter. There's also a contractor claim. I nodded. Grandma started a renovation. It stalled. And people don't walk away from unpaid work quietly. Sonia exhaled once, controlled. And the mortgage? There's a loan tied to the property, I said. Not huge on paper, but the report flags it as sensitive. Like the lender can demand full payment if the transfer isn't handled correctly. Sonia looked at me hard. So your plan is to let Kendra take the house? And everything attached to it, I finished. Sonia closed the folder halfway, thinking fast now. Okay, but a judge won't just sign off on she gets the house without addressing liabilities. That's the point, I said. Sonia's eyes narrowed. You want the agreement to say the recipient assumes all property-related liabilities. I didn't smile. Smiling in moments like this feels like bragging, and bragging makes people sloppy. I just said, yes. Sonia held the folder like it suddenly had teeth. If Derek is competent, he'll run a title search. He'll see this. He already ran something, I said. He's just not thinking like a person who plans to keep the property. He's thinking like a person who plans to win court. Sonia's gaze sharpened. Meaning? Kendra wants the victory today, I said. She wants me humiliated on the record. She wants pictures of keys. She wants the word everything. Sonia stared at the red tab, then back at me. And she wants it so badly, she won't read the part that matters. My throat tightened. Not with fear, with that cold, clean certainty that comes when you finally stop hoping people will behave. That's why I didn't argue, I said. I didn't want to scare her into being careful. Sonia's jaw set. All right, she said. Then we do this correctly? We make sure the stipulation is written in a way the judge will accept and in a way Kendra can't wriggle out of later. She'll sign whatever Derek tells her is standard, I said, as long as it says she got the house. Sonia's eyes flicked down the corridor toward the courtroom doors. And the car? The personal property? I kept my voice level. Let her have the car. Let her have the furniture. Let her take the win. Sonia studied my face, trying to decide if there was grief hidden under strategy. There was. But grief doesn't pay liens. Okay, she said finally. When we go back in there, you don't improvise. You let me steer. I will, I said. From inside the courtroom, the bailiff called the recess ending. People started drifting back. Kendra's laugh floated down the hallway again. Light. Careless. I'm victorious. Sonia tucked the red tab folder into my bag and zipped it like she was sealing a weapon. We walked back in. Judge Whitaker took the bench. Counsel, she said, do you anticipate a stipulation today? Derek Vaughn stood with easy confidence. Yes, Your Honor. We can have a draft in front of the court within the hour. Kendra turned and looked straight at me. She didn't bother whispering this time. Sign, she mouthed, smiling, and made a small pointing gesture toward my table like I was a child who needed directions. I didn't react. Because on Derek's table, his paralegal had just placed a thick draft packet, and I could see, even from where I sat, the last page clipped behind it. An attachment page with a bold section header that made Sonia's eyes go still. It was the kind of header nobody reads when they think they've already won. Sonia didn't wait for Derek Vaughn to finish shuffling his draft like it was a magic trick. The moment Judge Whitaker gave a nod for counsel to approach, Sonia stood and walked to the rail with the kind of calm that makes sloppy people nervous. Your Honor, Sonia said, we can stipulate today, but only if the written agreement is complete and enforceable. No vague handshakes, no future surprises. Derek smiled like she'd complimented him. Agreed. That's why we drafted it. Kendra's eyes never left me. She sat back like a queen waiting for someone to kneel. Judge Whitaker flipped open the packet. Her eyes moved fast. She didn't read like someone enjoying a story. She read like someone hunting for a trap. The petitioner receives the residence, she said aloud. The vehicle, personal property, and the rental income stream going forward. Kendra's mouth curved, pleased. And the respondent, the judge continued, waives claims and withdraws objections. Derek nodded. Correct, Your Honor. Clean resolution. The judge's finger paused on a paragraph. This includes the respondent's resignation as executor. Sonia spoke immediately. Your Honor, my client will resign if the court appoints a neutral administrator. We don't want the estate handled by a party with a direct conflict. Kendra's lawyer looked mildly offended. That's unnecessary. My client is perfectly capable. Judge Whitaker looked over her glasses. Everyone in this room believes they're perfectly capable. That's rarely the problem. A few quiet chuckles in the gallery. Kendra's smile tightened. Derek cleared his throat. Your Honor, and if the respondent is stepping aside, the petitioner can administer the estate. It's efficient. Sonia didn't argue. She didn't raise her voice. She just said, efficiency is how mistakes happen. Then she slid one sheet forward, just one, onto the rail. Not a stack, not a sermon. One piece of paper with a fresh timestamp in the corner, and an official-looking format. Judge Whitaker looked down at it. What is this? She asked. County Treasurer Status Report, Sonia said, voice steady. Printed this morning. It shows the property is delinquent on taxes and currently subject to enforcement. Kendra's head snapped toward the paper like it had insulted her. That's a lie, she said too quickly. Judge Whitaker didn't even glance at her. She stared at the page, then looked at Derek. Counsel? Derek's smile didn't move. Your Honor, even if there are taxes, those can be handled. This is probate. Every property has expenses. Sonia nodded once, like she'd expected that exact dismissal. It's not expenses, Your Honor. It's recorded enforcement status. She slid a second sheet forward. Another official printout, neat columns, and recorded entries. Judge Whitaker's eyes narrowed as she read. Recorder index, she said quietly. Sonia kept her tone simple. It reflects tax lien activity and code enforcement actions tied to the property address. Kendra leaned toward Derek, whispering urgently now. He didn't look at her. He kept his smile aimed at the bench like a shield. Judge Whitaker tapped the papers lightly. Mr. Vaughn, did you run a title report? Derek hesitated for a fraction of a second. Barely visible, but in a courtroom, it's loud. We reviewed public information, he said carefully. That's not my question, the judge replied. Did you run a title report? Derek's jaw flexed. We did a preliminary review, Your Honor. Judge Whitaker's gaze held on him. Preliminary means incomplete. Kendra spoke again, sharper. Why are we talking about this? I'm getting the house. She agreed. Just make her sign. Sonia didn't look at Kendra. She addressed the judge. Your Honor, my client is agreeing, but the agreement must reflect reality. If the petitioner is receiving the residence and the income stream, then the petitioner must accept all burdens tied to that asset. Derek's eyes narrowed. You're trying to rewrite the deal. Sonia's expression didn't change. No, I'm trying to prevent you from rewriting it later. Judge Whitaker leaned back slightly, considering. Ms. Hart, she said, directing it to Kendra. Do you understand that if you receive the property, you also receive the responsibilities attached to it? Kendra's smirk returned like she'd regained footing. Obviously, Your Honor. I can handle it. The judge's eyes stayed on her. That includes taxes, any recorded liens, code enforcement penalties, contractor claims, any obligations that follow the property. Kendra waved a hand, the gesture dismissive and almost bored. Sure, fine, whatever. I just want her to stop pretending she deserves Grandma's house. My parents shifted behind her, satisfied again. My father's mouth curled as if he couldn't wait to watch me leave empty-handed. Judge Whitaker turned back to the packet. Then I want the stipulation to say that clearly, she said. No ambiguity. If Ms. Kendra Hart is taking the residence, she assumes all liens, encumbrances, penalties, and obligations tied to the property, known or unknown, recorded or pending, effective immediately. Derek forced a smile. Your Honor, that's unusually broad. It's also unusually necessary, the judge said, because you asked for speed. Speed requires clarity. Sonia didn't celebrate. She just nodded. We can draft that language, Your Honor. Derek inhaled, the first sign his confidence wasn't limitless. We'll revise. Judge Whitaker tapped the packet again. I also want a separate paragraph addressing the rental unit. If you're collecting rental income, you're also responsible for compliance and any related notices. Understood? Kendra's answer came too fast. Understood. Sonia turned slightly toward me, just enough for me to see her eyes. Not reassurance, and a silent question. Are you still steady? I gave her the smallest nod, because Kendra wasn't just taking the house. She was taking the obligations that were about to wake up hungry. Derek returned to his table and began scribbling edits, whispering to Kendra as he wrote. Kendra nodded along, barely listening, her gaze sliding to me every few seconds like she wanted to watch my face collapse in real time. Then she did something that made my skin go cold. She leaned toward her microphone and said, Your Honor, can we also include that Naomi has to turn over all keys today? Like, today. I'm not waiting while she packs or whatever. My mother nodded behind her like it was reasonable. My father chuckled. Judge Whitaker's expression hardened. We're not doing a public eviction in probate court. Kendra's smile stayed fixed. I just don't trust her. Sonia spoke before I could. Your Honor, my client will turn over keys within the timeline at the court orders. But we will not agree to any terms that appear punitive or designed for humiliation. Kendra tilted her head, mock innocent. Humiliation? She did that to herself. The judge stared at her for a long beat. Ms. Hart, your tone is not helping you. Kendra sat back, but the satisfaction didn't leave her. She could feel it. She could taste it. The moment where I would have to sign my name and watch her win. Derek placed the revised packet into a clean stack and walked it back to the rail. Judge Whitaker scanned the new paragraph Sonia had insisted on. Her finger traced one line. Then she nodded, once, slow. That's clear, she said. Sonia's posture didn't change, but I felt the air shift, like a door had quietly clicked into place. Judge Whitaker set the packet down. All right, I will set a final hearing this afternoon to put the stipulation on the record and confirm signatures. Both parties will return. No changes between now and then. Kendra's eyes lit up. She couldn't hide it. This was exactly what she wanted. Fast, clean, final. She looked straight at me and mouthed the same word again, smug and certain. Sign. And as Derek gathered his papers, his thumb slid over the last section Sonia had rewritten, an attachment page that looked boring enough to ignore, which is exactly why it was lethal. 2 hours later, the courthouse felt louder. Not from people. Most of them had gone back to work, back to their normal lives, but from the way my sister kept filling the space with herself. Every time I passed within earshot, she made sure there was a laugh waiting for me like a tripwire. In the hallway, Kendra posed with my parents like they were leaving a fundraiser instead of a probate hearing. She held her phone at arm's length, smiling too wide, tilting her head toward my mother. Say it again, Kendra said. The part where she finally did the right thing. My father chuckled. She finally did the right thing. Kendra looked directly at me while she recorded it. Like she wanted my face in the background. Like she wanted proof I existed when she took the trophy. Sonia stepped subtly between us. Don't give her that, she murmured. Kendra lowered her phone and switched to her courtroom voice. So, what time are we signing? I have a locksmith coming. I'm not waiting around for her to do some dramatic slow packing. The word locksmith hit my chest. Not because I cared about the locks, but because I knew exactly how she wanted this to end. Her keys in her hand, my humiliation in the air. Judge Whitaker's earlier words echoed in my head. We're not doing a public eviction in probate court, but Kendra didn't hear limits. She heard opportunity. Sonia's tone stayed even. The court ordered the final hearing this afternoon. After that, any timelines come from the written agreement. Kendra's smile didn't move. I just don't trust her. I've noticed, Sonia said. My mother stepped closer, eyes glossy again, her favorite costume. Naomi, she said softly, like I was a misbehaving child. Just don't make this harder. Your sister deserves the house. She has a family. I didn't correct her. Kendra didn't have a family. She had an audience. Sonia touched my elbow and guided me away toward a quieter corner near the clerk's windows. Before we go back in, she said, we're doing one more thing. I kept my voice low. What thing? Sonia didn't look surprised that I didn't ask why. She'd watched me all morning. She knew I didn't need comfort. I needed sequence. I want a fresh recorder printout, she said. Updated. Right now. If anything new hits the record between the morning hearing and the afternoon signing, I want it in our hands before we walk back in. Kendra had been so eager to win quickly that she hadn't thought about what speed attracts. Speed attracts filings. Speed attracts claims. Speed attracts the people who were waiting for a name to attach to. We left the courtroom wing and crossed through the county administration building across the street. And the kind of place with fluorescent lights and numbered windows and security guards who'd seen every version of desperation. At the recorder's office, a line crawled forward in small steps. A printer behind the counter spat paper in steady bursts. A stamp hit the counter with a dull thud every few seconds. Sonia took a ticket, then glanced at me. "You're okay." It wasn't a question. It was an instruction. I nodded once. When our number flashed, Sonia slid up to the counter and spoke to the clerk with the calm of someone who knew how to ask for the right thing without sounding like she was asking for a favor. "We need an updated index pull on the Hart property," Sonia said, "and any newly recorded items within the last 30 days. The clerk didn't react to the last name. She typed it in. Eyes on the screen, fingers fast. And then her expression shifted slightly, nothing dramatic. Just the moment her brain decided this wasn't routine. "Address?" the clerk asked. Sonia gave it. The clerk typed again, clicked, then leaned closer to her monitor as if the screen had gotten smaller. "Okay," she said slowly. "There are multiple entries." Sonia's voice stayed smooth. "Print the full list." The printer started. Page after page. Warm paper stacking in a neat pile with the kind of quiet confidence only government printers have. The clerk added a final sheet from a different tray, thicker stock, the kind used for notices. She set it on top like a weight. Sonia's eyes moved over the pages. I watched her face instead of the words. Sonia didn't get rattled easily, but her mouth tightened, and I knew she'd just found the sharp edge. "What is that last page?" she asked, untapping the thicker sheet. The clerk answered like she was reciting weather. "Notice of enforcement status. It's been generated because the delinquency threshold was met. There's also a scheduled compliance review tied to code enforcement." Sonia's gaze flicked up. "Scheduled when?" The clerk looked back at her screen. "Soon." Soon didn't matter. What mattered was that it existed. Printed, dated, and attached to a file that was hungry for an owner. Sonia pointed to a line on the recorder list. "This one," she said. "This was recorded when?" The clerk leaned in. "Today." Sonia didn't move, but the air around us shifted. "Today, as in this morning." The clerk nodded. "Yes." My throat went tight, but my hands stayed steady at my sides. I didn't need to see the line to know what it was. I'd been waiting for it. At the moment, the system did what systems do when a property sits unpaid and unfinished. Sonia took the stack of papers and stepped aside from the window so the next person could approach. We moved to an empty counter along the wall away from the line. She laid the pages out in order like she was assembling a timeline in front of a jury. "This is the one," Sonia murmured, tapping the new recorded entry. "Mechanic's lien." I exhaled through my nose. "So the contractor finally filed." "Or the subcontractor," she said. "Or both. And once it's recorded, it's attached. Well, whoever takes title takes it with title." I kept my eyes on the paper. The words blurred at the edges because I refused to lean into them emotionally. Emotion wouldn't change what was already recorded. Sonia flipped to the thicker notice page. "And this," she said, quieter now, "I means the city is already in motion." I swallowed. "So it's not just taxes, it's penalties, hearings, compliance." Sonia nodded once. "And because Judge Whitaker demanded known or unknown, recorded or pending, there's no wiggle room, not if it's signed." A small part of me, some exhausted, grieving corner, wanted to feel something like satisfaction. But satisfaction would be premature. All we had was paper. The signature was the door. Sonia gathered the pages and slid them into her folder. "We're walking back in there with this," she said. "If Derek tries to narrow the language, we stop the signing." "He won't try," I said. Sonia glanced at me. "You're sure?" "Kendra doesn't want careful," I replied. "She wants fast." Sonia's phone buzzed once. She checked it, then slipped it back into her pocket. "Time," she said. But we crossed back to the courthouse through security again, the metal detector beeping for someone else's belt buckle while I carried a folder that felt heavier than anything I'd walked in with this morning. When we returned to the courtroom, Kendra was already seated, posture perfect, smile bright, like she'd been sitting there winning for hours. Derek had the revised stipulation packet in front of him, clipped and clean. My parents looked at me with a kind of easy cruelty, like they'd already adjusted to the story where I was the one who lost. Kendra leaned toward her lawyer, whispering, then glanced at me and mouthed it again, almost playful. Sign. Judge Whitaker took the bench and opened the afternoon session without ceremony. We are here to place the stipulation on the record, she said. Both parties present. Counsel, are we ready? Derek stood. Yes, Your Honor. Sonia stood. Yes, Your Honor. The judge's eyes landed on me. Ms. Hart, you understand this will be final? Yes, I said. Kendra's smirk deepened, like she'd just heard the last line of a song she loved. Judge Whitaker nodded. Then let's proceed. Derek stepped closer to Kendra and set the signature packet in front of her. He pointed to the first signature line like he was guiding someone through a simple form. Kendra reached for the pen, and right as her fingers closed around it, Derek's phone buzzed against the table. One sharp vibration that somehow sounded louder than the judge's voice. He glanced down reflexively. His expression didn't shift at first. Then his eyes moved across the screen, left to right, like he was reading something he didn't believe. His smile faltered. His hand went still, and for the first time all day, he looked at Kendra like he didn't know how to say what he had just learned. Derek's phone buzzed again, like it wasn't willing to wait for court procedure. He stared at the screen, then looked down at the signature packet in front of Kendra like it had quietly turned into a bomb. Kendra leaned toward him, still smiling. What is it? Derek didn't answer right away. His eyes flicked to Sonia, then away, like he'd just realized the other side had been calmly watching him walk into a trap. Judge Whitaker noticed the pause. Mr. Vaughn, she said, if you have an issue, speak now. Derek cleared his throat. Your Honor, I'm receiving a notification related to the property. Kendra's smile twitched. Just sign, she whispered at him. Don't let her stall. Derek's mouth opened, then closed. He looked at the judge again. It appears a new lien was recorded today. The word lien hit the room like a slap. My father scoffed behind Kendra. So what? It's still a house. My mother leaned forward, sharp and anxious. Just get it done. Kendra waved her hand like she was brushing dust off a trophy. That's fine. I can handle it. Sonia's voice stayed level. Your Honor, we anticipated that. We have an updated recorder printout from this morning. She didn't dramatize it. She simply handed the papers to the clerk who brought them up to the bench. Judge Whitaker read for a long beat. Her face didn't change, but the silence thickened. Then she set the papers down and looked directly at Derek. You tried to rush an agreement without full diligence, she said. Now you're surprised diligence exists. Derek's jaw tightened. Your Honor, and I'm requesting a brief continuance to review the impact of— No! Kendra snapped, loud enough to earn an immediate glare from the bench. No continuance, she agreed. We're done today. Judge Whitaker's eyes cut to her. Ms. Hart, one more outburst and you will spend the rest of the afternoon in the hallway. Kendra sat back, forcing her smile into place again. Sorry, Your Honor, I just want closure. Judge Whitaker didn't soften. Then you will accept closure as written. She turned to Derek. The agreement includes an assumption of liabilities provision. It is clear, it is broad, and it is there because I insisted on it. If your client wants the house today, your client takes what comes with it today. Derek swallowed. Understood, Your Honor. Judge Whitaker looked at me. Ms. I heart Naomi. Do you still agree to the stipulation as written? I didn't glance at Kendra. I didn't glance at my parents. I kept my eyes on the bench. Yes, Your Honor. Kendra's smirk returned, bright and greedy. Good. The judge nodded. Then we're doing this on the record. Mr. Vaughn, read the assumption section out loud. Derek hesitated just long enough for it to be obvious. Read it, Judge Whitaker repeated. Derek's voice came out careful now, the way people speak when they're walking past a cliff. The petitioner assumes sole responsibility for any and all taxes, liens, encumbrances, code enforcement obligations, contractor claims, penalties, compliance actions, and any recorded or pending matters associated with the residence and related rental unit, whether known or unknown, arising before or after the effective date of transfer. Kendra's smile held for the first half. Then it started to slip, millimeter by millimeter. Derek kept reading. And agrees to indemnify and hold harmless the respondent from any and all claims, costs, fees, or enforcement actions connected to said property. Kendra blinked. Indemnify? Derek's eyes stayed on the page. He didn't look at her. He didn't want to be the messenger. Judge Whitaker leaned forward. Ms. Kendra Hart, do you understand what that means? Kendra forced a laugh. It means she can't come back and try to take it again. Judge Whitaker's gaze didn't move. It means if the city comes, if the county comes, if a contractor comes, if a lender comes, they come to you, not to her. Kendra's cheeks flushed. Fine. The judge stared at her. Answer the question. Kendra's voice sharpened, defensive. Yes, I understand. Derek finally looked at her then, and his face had gone pale around the mouth. Kendra noticed. What? He leaned in, lowering his voice, but in that quiet courtroom it still carried. You assumed all liabilities, he whispered. 5 words. Flat. Final. Kendra's eyes widened like the oxygen left the room. She snapped her head toward the bench. Wait, I didn't mean... Judge Whitaker cut her off. You demanded to sign today. You demanded speed. And you stated on the record you could handle it. Kendra's hands curled around the pen like she wanted to stab the paper. Derek tried one last time, voice strained. Your Honor, given the newly recorded mechanics lien, my client may wish to review... Kendra whipped her head toward him, furious. No. Don't you dare make me look weak. Then she turned back to the table and signed. Hard, fast, like she could outrun the ink. The clerk slid the packet to me. Sonia's hand hovered near my wrist, not to stop me, just to steady the moment in case my body tried to betray me. I signed once. No flourish. No shake. Judge Whitaker watched the signatures, then took the papers, stamped them, and signed the order with one clean motion. This stipulation is entered, she said. It is enforceable. And it is final. Kendra stood abruptly. So, it's over. I get the house. Judge Whitaker met her eyes. You get the house. And what comes with it? Kendra opened her mouth to argue, then closed it when she realized there was nowhere for the argument to land. Derek gathered his things like he wanted to disappear into his briefcase. Sonia didn't celebrate. She just placed a hand on my elbow and guided me toward the aisle. As we passed Kendra's table, my sister leaned close, voice low and sharp. You think you're clever, she hissed. You think you won. I didn't look at her. I kept walking, because the truth was I didn't win anything in the way she meant. I just refused to drown with her. By the end of that week, Kendra had changed the locks and posted a photo in front of Grandma's house like she'd conquered it. 2 days later, the city posted a notice on the door. Not dramatic, just official paper taped flat, impossible to ignore. Then came the mail. Certified envelopes, stamped warnings, deadlines that didn't care how pretty her caption was. The mechanics lien wasn't a rumor anymore, it was recorded. And the tax delinquency wasn't something to handle later. It was enforcement with a timeline. Kendra called me exactly once. I didn't answer. Sonia sent one message back through counsel. Contact stops here. All communication goes through attorneys. The agreement bars future claims. The court order is final. That was the door. And Kendra finally ran into it. The part she never saw coming was the part she never asked about. Grandma's real protection for me wasn't the house. It was the quiet account she set up years earlier with a beneficiary designation. Money that transferred to me directly, outside the property fight, outside Kendra's courtroom performance. It showed up in my bank like a simple deposit and a line of text no one could argue with. It wasn't poetic, it was perfect. Kendra got the trophy, I got the safety net. She got the stage, I got the exit. And if that sounds cold, it's only because people like my sister mistake silence for weakness. Right up until the paperwork proves otherwise. If you were in my shoes, would you have fought her for the house? Or let her take it and inherit the mess? Tell me what you would have done. And if you want more stories where proof beats performance, hit like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.